Nom. That is good malt. I was like, why do you make these videos? One, I love beer. I like this beer. But mainly, I get to be told the malt if any's left over. Hello homebrewers, welcome, hope you're having a fantastic one. So we're having a bit of fun today. I am brewing something that, well, I really like. So something that is me endorsed, because I like to drink it, so we're going to do that. So what we're doing today is making a honey beer, a braggot. I just call it honey beer because, you know, we all know what that is. We don't need fancy technical names for it. And it is really easy to make. All you're going to need is a couple of jars of honey. Now we are using the honey from the red yeast mead video, so I've got 2 jars of honey and a third on standby. Now I like to caramelize my honey because this honey is, well, cheap and it has not a lot of flavor, and I like the caramel notes in here. Now we could use caramel malts and, you know, get into malt blending and stuff, but I really don't want to. It's just too much fuss for me. I'd rather start off with something everyone can buy, which is just a beer kit. This is Richie's one. I really like this one. It's tasty just out the bag, just with a kilo of sugar. But it's off again. But I like doing it this way, so that's what we're going to do. Now the only real change is hops. Now you don't have to add hops into these lager kits. It just makes cheap bubbles, but I just wanted a bit of lemony flavour to add to this. I think it will work really well. Because normally, if anyone's seen any of my other beer videos, I have a thing for citra. I like the citrus. So, lemon drop should be good. Now, I am going to be dry hopping because, well, I don't like the bitterness. I don't like to boil my hops because, yeah, I don't like the bitterness. If you like that, then do it. It's fine. So, I just like the aroma and the taste. It carries over. So, in the background over here, I'm actually going to be doing something which I know is it's a bit overkill. So we've got like a heat mat here, and it's cool. I mean, you can buy these varying prices. This one comes with a temperature controller, but I'm not going to use this. Just out the way. Instead, I bought this. It is it's an egg incubator. It's a really cheap one, but it is accurate. Now the reason I bought it is I'm gonna plug it in, is one, it is low voltage. It actually runs on 12 volts. Famous last words, nearly electrocute myself. But it comes with like a little cheesy heating thing, but it actually is temperature accurate. I mean, you can actually tell it is 16 point something degrees in here, so that's pretty cool. And we can set the temperature to whatever we want. So I am going to be using this just because I can. I mean, I've made this beer many times before, different hops, but let's see if it makes a difference. So I will be using this and brewing it at about 20 degrees because why not? I have no idea. We're just going to use the beer yeast that it comes with. So that should be quite fun. Just to see what happens. So I'm just going to clear up and we're going to get started. So the first step is pretty straightforward. We're going to take our lovely bag of malt, the goodness. Now it is pretty viscous. So I've got a little bath of hot water, so we're going to give this a little bath. This is going to loosen it up, make it a lot easier, because, well, I'll just eat it. It's just so tasty. So in it goes, and we'll just leave that to one side while we sort out all of our honey stuff. So you don't have to use honey if you're making a beer kit. This stuff works perfectly well with just a bag of sugar. You don't need to add any hops or anything. It's just additions. It tastes. It's lager. Lager is just bubbles and fizz, and yeah. Stuff doesn't really have a lot of flavor, so I'm going to use the 2 jars for caramelizing because that's what I want. This is just the top up, just in case the sugars in here don't match the previous red yeast mead that we made, because that was pretty high. Still don't have a clue, and Morrison's haven't got back to me. I don't think they're going to. So nothing needs to be sterile whatsoever currently. It's just all clean and washed. Got my wooden spoon, If you don't want to use a wooden spoon, don't use a wooden spoon. It's gonna get sterilized in the heat anyway, so it's all good. So let's begin the process. You've seen me do this a few times before, so no water, straight in and... So our honey is now caramelized. It smells amazing. It's really hard to describe. It's kind of like a wheat, but sweet and sort of, it's just... It has something, it's got that je ne sais quoi, but you just don't quite know what it is. So we're gonna add some water to this. It stops it from caramelizing any further because, well, it's gonna keep cooking even though the heat is now off. It's going for it, and it does burn really quick. So this is the dangerous bit. So boiling water is the only way to do it, and very small amounts, because yeah, that's why. So this is just going to take a second. So when the time is taken to caramelize our honey, we've still got some honey left over because we don't want to add any water into it when we're caramelizing it, so we'll rinse that off with some warm water. Our lovely bag of malt is, well, check it out. It's really easy. So this is the fun part. This is the bit that's really easy. And if I wasn't a sucker for the caramelized honey, this would be a lot quicker. So just gonna make a... push the malt down, so when I cut it open, which the scissors have been sterilized, at this point everything does need to be sterilized. I've re-wiped everything, and that's on fire. Nothing's getting in that. So a lovely demijohn. It smells fresh, but not bleachy. So, right, cut across the top. And did I cut it deep enough? I did! This stuff is really sticky, so in it goes. Look at that. So we've got some boiling water, and we're going to add that to the malt. Just in case, you know, it's not sterile enough. Plus it helps. So the kettle's just boiled again. We've got a first load of boiling water in. I just put this on while we're waiting. Smells of malt. So stick that down there. Face up. So got my sterile scissors. Since I know, because I'm going to be using this lovely wooden spoon for stirring, we're going to scorch this bad boy. Nothing survives. Many different ways of sterilizing. So we're adding in the boiling water now. That way it makes the malt a lot easier to stir. So now I've got my scorch spoon. We've got our lovely honey solution, which is pretty dark, I have to say, so in that goes. Look at that. Let's give this a little rinse. I've spent all that effort of getting honey everywhere. Might as well just make sure it's all in. Now comes the boring bit, so just going to give it another stir. So I'm just going to use my kettle, just going to get rid of the rest of this hot water. And I'm going to top it up since it's already sterilized. This will be fun. While we're waiting for these bubbles to die down, I'm going to add in the last little bit. Just use some warm water, shake these out, add them in. Then we'll give it a stir. Right, so I've left a little bit of room just in case we need this other jar. Just in case. So let's give it a nice stir. Get all these sugars mixed. And the bubbles. It's a little frothy. Almost like it's actually a decent beer kit. Can't help myself. Oh, that tastes good. In goes our hydrometer. I just want to get a rough idea of what we got. We're going to need that extra jar of honey, which I'm glad I actually allowed for. So yeah, I'm going to add in some more honey. Oh, just want to eat all this stuff. There we go. So I was hoping that I wouldn't need, well, I didn't know if I was going to need the third jar considering our other batch. I just think it was particularly sugary, that particular one. But it is actual honey, which I am surprised at. So the reason that I've left the room and doing this is because honey doesn't dissolve in cold water very easily. It takes a lot of effort. So I might as well do it in warm water and then just top it up. Which makes more sense. And let's just pour this bad boy in. Let's go to the hops. While we're waiting for all of that just to die down so we can take a final reading, let us sort out the hops. So, oh god, these smell good. Lemony. I like my citrus, what can I say? So, the lager kit already comes pre-made with hops. You don't have to do this, but I'm dry hopping. So I'm aiming for around 20-ish grams. Nothing too major. 13, 19, yeah, about 20. Okay, 21, but who cares? So basically, we're just going to chuck these in. You can do hop tea bags and hop whatever, but these shit will sink to the bottom once it's finished fermenting. So here it goes, and la-di-da. I mean, we've only got to pitch our yeast and take the final measurement. So, as you know, with a beer, it doesn't finish at 990. It finishes somewhere around 1. So, somewhere. So, let's take a look at the old hydrometer. So, according to this, it's right at the 6% mark if it was 990. So that is 1.036-ish. So I am expecting around 5%. We're going to go to 1. If it finishes slightly over, that's fine because there are infermentable sugars in here. And we caramelize the honey, so some of that honey could be carbonized. So that won't ferment, but that's pretty respectable. 5% for a beer. I'm happy. Can't smell anything right now. It just smells malty and tasty. Tastes good though. That does taste good. So the last thing we need to do is pitch our yeast. Now the yeast that came with it is, it says beer yeast, but I'm pretty sure it's an ale yeast. Pretty sure. Because it says beer, generic. So it could be good, could be bad. It's always good stuff. It's just the same as the Young's ale yeast. So in we pitch it. No need to hydrate or anything. It sorts itself out. And that's us done, guys. So if you're not using a heat belt, because I'm going to be using a fancy incubator, I'm going to set that up for 20 degrees. And then we're just going to brew that. So this should take about 2 weeks to brew. More or less. Can't smell anything right now. It just smells malty and tasty. It tastes good though. That does taste good. So the last thing we need to do is pitch our yeast. Now the yeast that came with it is, it says beer yeast, but I'm pretty sure it's an ale yeast. Pretty sure. Because it says beer, generic. So it could be good, could be bad. It's always good stuff. It's just the same as the Young's ale yeast. So in we pitch it. No need to hydrate or anything. It sorts itself out. And that's us done, guys. So if you're not using a heat belt, because I'm going to be using a fancy incubator, I'm going to set that up for 20 degrees. And then we're just going to brew that. So this should take about 2 weeks to brew. More or less. So I will see you in a fortnight.